Pokemon battles. They are the concept of your own Pokemon fighting other Pokemon to become stronger and to build up your friendship more. This could be in the form of a wild Pokemon battle, or a trainer battle. But there comes a point throughout your journey where you have to put your skills to the test in a boss battle. A boss battle can range anywhere from a gym battle, rival battle, evil team admin or leader battle, totem battle, kahuna battle, elite four battle, or battle against that region's champion. Some of these battles can be pushovers, especially if your team is overleveled. But if you're just doing a casual playthrough of the game for the first time, or don't do any excessive training, these battles can be pretty hard. And that's what we're going to talk about today in this video. When I made this list, I'm only taking the main series games into consideration, so nothing from the side games such as Stadium, Mystery Dungeon, Coliseum, and XD. Also, the choices I made for this list are based on my personal experiences playing the games, and the experiences other people have had as well. Finally, I'm only going to be talking about the main story battles, so post-game battles will not be included on this list such as the Battle Frontier facilities. With that out of the way, my name is AB GamerX, and this is what I believe are the top 10 hardest Pokemon battles. Nessa from Pokemon Sword and Shield. I know what you're thinking. She was a cakewalk for you since you chose Grookey as your starter. And chances are you would be correct, but if you haven't chosen Grookey, then this battle can get very tough. Wanna know why this battle is so hard? Well, her first two Pokemon are Goldeen and Arrokuda, but honestly they're just free expands. But her Dreadnought is the main threat. First of all, when her Dreadnought is Dynamax and uses Max Geyser, have fun trying to outspeed it because it gets access to Swift Swim, doubling its speed stat at an already fast 72 base speed for this point in the game. Speaking of its stats, just look at them real quick. 115 base attack, 90 HP in defense, and 68 special defense. Those are some high numbers for only the second gym leader. And when you get into its moveset, it has Water Gun, Headbutt, Bite, and Razor Shell. So Dreadnought will be able to inflict quite a bit of damage with its physical moves. And remember when I say you're screwed if you didn't pick Grookey? That's because although there's some decent selections out there to take on Nessa's team, such as Eldegoss or Surfetch if you're playing Sword, but most of the other options are pretty weak to take on Dreadnought at this point in the game. And the team I went into this battle with the first time playing Shield was Raboot, Corvisquire, Yamper, Linoone, Eevee, and Arrokuda. Yeah, not a great team to work with for this battle. She destroyed most of my team with Dreadnought. She outsped and one-shot my Dynamax Pokemon, then I had to sacrifice Pokemon to stall out the Dynamax. When the Dynamax finally ended, I was able to get some hits in, but then I had to stall out the rain just to have Raboot finish it off with Double Kick, being my last surviving Pokemon. But remember, this battle can be easy if you chose Grookey, but hard if you chose Scorbunny or Sobble instead. So this is why this battle is at the number 10 spot on this list. Whitney from the Johto games. Everyone knows how infamous Whitney is and her OP as hell Miltank. There are actually compilations out there of people raging just because of Whitney's Miltank. Her other Pokemon, Clefairy, is not really a threat whatsoever unless you get unlucky with Metronome, but once her Miltank gets set up with Rollout, it gets very deadly. In case you live under a rock and don't know what Rollout does, then allow me to explain. Rollout is a rock type move with 30 base power and 90 accuracy. Every time Rollout lands, its power doubles for the next 5 turns. So on turn 1, it does 30 damage, then the next turn 60, then 120, then 240, then finally 480 damage. If it sets up Rollout, then you need to deal with that Rollout fast or else your members are going to faint. And if that's not already a big issue, her Miltank has access to Stomp, which does a lot of damage due to stab and a chance to Flitch on top of that. Then if she feels like it at any point in the battle, she will use a track to make it to where your male Pokemon only have a 50% chance to attack. Then if you finally get her HP down enough, she'll use Milk Drain to get half its total health back. And in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, while the Miltank is one level lower, it has access to the ability Scrappy, meaning it can stomp on your Ghost types if you decide to use one. With Nessa, if you chose the correct starter or have Surfetch or any other grass type options, the gym can be a cakewalk. This is not the case for Whitney. However, there are still some counters for her team. You can pick up a Geodude and Onix early in the game to tank her attacks, or you can catch and trade a Drowsy for a Machop in the Goldenrod department store to deliver super effective hits. While these options can definitely help against Miltank, it will still be such a long battle just because of the amount of bulk Miltank has, as well as the fact she can heal up whenever she feels like it. And even if you don't use these options, you'll most likely have to resort to status moves just to help minimize your damage output or increase your own. But because she can have some counters to her team and only one Pokemon on her team is actually a threat, I decided to put this at the number 9 spot on this list. Totem Lorantis from the Alola games. I hear people complain about Totem Wishiwashi, Araquanid, and Rabombi, but the one I personally struggled with the most was Totem Lorantis. And I'm not the only one. Other people have said that Totem Lorantis is the hardest battle in Sun and Moon. And they are right to think that. First off, it gets a +2 speed boost upon the start of the battle on a base 45 base speed. So unless you have a fast Pokemon on your team, you have no chance of outspeeding it. In Sun and Moon, it gets access to the moves Razor Leaf, X Scissor, and Solar Blade. Eating a 125 base powered Solar Blade from a 100 base attack stat Pokemon this early in the game is going to hurt. If that's not already bad enough, Lorantis is also holding a Power Herb, meaning if the sun isn't out, it can still Solar Blade without having to charge for a turn. But who needs a Power Herb when you could just call in a Cast Form to set up Sunny Day and then destroy your team with Weather Ball as well? And don't even try to afflict a status condition because of its Leaf Guard ability, meaning status conditions will not affect Lorantis if the sun is out. It can also call in Trumbeak, which can do a bit of damage, but honestly it's not as big of a main threat as the Cast Form. And once you actually manage to get Lorantis' health low, it can just use Synthesis to get all of its health back in the sun. And that's only Sun and Moon. In Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it gets low sweep in place of Razor Leaf, and gets new allies in the form of Kecleon and Comfey to stop the sunlight. And these two Pokemon can be very annoying to deal with. Kecleon can definitely pack a punch with Ancient Power and Dizzy Punch, and Comfey will just heal Lorantis with Floral Healing and raise Lorantis' defense with Flower Shield. When I played Sun, Lorantis and its partners took out most of my Pokemon except for Miltank. And in that battle, if it used Solar Blade at any point, I would have lost, but I used Razor Leaf instead. And despite how annoying these teams are, and how much I struggled in Sun, I never actually struggled that much when I played Ultra Sun, but that was mainly because my team was actually prepared specifically for that battle. But I know others have, which is why I decided to put this at the number 8 spot on this list. Winona has one of the toughest gyms in the Hoenn region, especially in Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. For being a flying type gym leader, her team has a strong selection of Pokemon to use. She starts off with the Swellow that can set up double teams, which can get annoying really quickly if you're unlucky. If you manage to get its health low, it will use Endeavor to bring your health down to its current health. Luckily in Emerald she doesn't have Swellow, instead it gets replaced by a Swablu, which is just free experience, and a Tropius that will take advantage of the sun with its Chlorophyll ability and Synthesis and Solar Beam. Those are the two main differences with your team if you're playing Emerald. She also has a Pelipper on her team, which shouldn't be too hard if you have an electric type Pokemon or electric type move, otherwise it can get annoying because it loves to spam Protect and Supersonic. Then she has a Skarmory, which has a lot of physical defense, and can slowly whittle away your health with Steel Wing and Aerial Ace. But those Pokemon are the least of your problem. The main problem is her ace Pokemon Altaria. Her Altaria can get scary really fast because it has Dragon Dance, a move that increases both your attack and speed at once. If it gets enough Dragon Dances up, then it can sweep your team at any point with the moves Dragon Breath with the chance to paralyze you, Aerial Ace which can't miss, and even a surprise with Earthquake for coverage. Because of these moves, you have very limited options to take on Altaria, and Altaria, being a Dragon Flying type, only has 3 weaknesses: Rock, Dragon, and a 4x weakness to Ice. But Earthquake takes care of the Rock types unless you want to use Solrock or Lunatone, which both have Levitate. There are no other Dragon types as of this point in the game other than Vibrava, which can do that much, and your own Altaria, but have fun trying to outspeed it after one Dragon Dance. Unless you have a Solrock or Lunatone, your best bet would be to venture through the abandoned ship on Route 108 and pick up the Ice Beam TM. If you don't, then your team could look like mine from my Water Monotype run of Emerald. Even when my entire team was at level 36, only 3 levels higher than Altaria, and still almost got completely destroyed. And while I say Winona is one of the hardest gym leaders of the Hoenn region, I never said she was the hardest one. The hardest one will be coming up later. So because of her Altaria, along with her other decent selection of Pokemon, is why I decided to put the number 7 spot on this list. Oh boy, is she gonna give me such a pain in the ass when I do my Grass Monotype run of Emerald. Red is said to be the strongest trainer in the world, and when you walk to the top of Mount Silver for the first time and speak to him, just for him to say nothing, and then start off with the Pikachu in the level 80s, in what's the biggest level gap in the history of Pokemon, I can guarantee you're not the only one that shat their pants. Just to be clear, I didn't actually shat my pants. It's a figure of speech. Now, I said earlier that I wouldn't be including any post-game content, but in the Gen 2 games, you're given the entire Kanto region to explore, and I personally don't consider any Gen 2 game complete until you've beaten Red. And Red is just that strong that I just can't not put him on this list. Whether I'm playing the original Gen 2 games or the remakes, Red has given me trouble. Even in my first time beating Soul Silver, I had a Feraligatr in the 90s on my team, and he has still managed to knock out my entire team multiple times. In the original Gen 2 games, he starts off with a level 81 Pikachu, which shouldn't be too hard to deal with, especially if you're ground-type Pokemon. But even in my experience, it always seems to use Charm on the first turn of all moves. Then he has a Venusaur, which just loves to spam Solar Beam every turn. And when you manage to weaken Venusaur enough, don't be surprised if he uses Synthesis to get its health back. Then he has a Charizard, which can't really do much to you if you're a Water or Rock-type Pokemon, otherwise its Flamethrower can definitely pack a punch. Blastoise can be a very tough Pokemon to beat. It can tank hits all day and deliver some strong ones back in the form of Surf and Blizzard to deal with grass types. Then he still has two Pokemon left, and I feel these are the two most terrifying members of his team. First off, he has a very bulky Snorlax which can body slam you and use rest to keep itself alive. While Rock-type Pokemon and Ghost-type Pokemon do well against Snorlax's moveset, it won't even matter because Snorlax has way too much bulk for those types and will just keep healing itself back up to full health with rest. And finally, Espeon. This thing can tear your team apart with just one Psychic. And while it has paper-thin physical defense, that won't matter if it gets its Reflect up. And it has Mud Slap as well to lower your accuracy as well if it wasn't already bad enough. And in case you didn't know, Espeon and Snorlax are the two lowest leveled Pokemon on his team. And this is just the original Gen 2 team. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, his team is even worse. In the original games, his team ranges from levels 73 to 81. In the remakes, they range from 80 to 88. Not only that, but it's hailing throughout the entire battle, with half of his team knowing Blizzard, meaning it will never miss. His Pikachu has a Light Ball now, raising its attack and special attack, and just like Ash's Gen 4 Pikachu from the anime, it now has Quick Attack, Thunderbolt, Iron Tail, and Volt Tackle. And his Espeon is now replaced with a bulky Lapras, which can still do some good damage to your team. And on top of all that, a lot of his team members have received so much type coverage moves that you wouldn't expect to see in any main story battle and are the types of movesets you expect to see in competitive battles or in the Battle Frontier facilities. The real challenge from these battles easily come from the level jump, especially if you're just coming out of your 8th Kanto badge win against Blue, whose ace was level 60. But with a well-rounded team or a well-trained team, you can win. When I did my Gold and Silver race with my Yumi, I managed to beat Red on my first try with Pokemon in the 40s and 50s with my well-rounded team. But when you battle Red, have your healing items ready because you are going to need them. I most certainly did. Red definitely lives up to his title of the strongest trainer in the world. However, I feel there are more challenging battles out there, so that's why Red is only at the number 6 spot on this list. We're already this far into the list and we haven't even talked about a champion yet? Let's fix that, shall we? Here is a champion I'm sure everyone has struggled with at least once at some point. The Elite Four champion of the Sinnoh region, Cynthia. I'm just going to start by saying that her team is infamous for being brutal. Let's just quickly list off her team. She starts off with the Spiritomb, a bulky special attacking Pokemon that doesn't have any weaknesses. She also has a Lucario, a speedy mixed attacker, Milotic, a bulky special attacker, Roserade, a special attacker with a decent amount of speed and special defense, a bulky Gastrodon Diamond and Pearl with only one weakness, or a bulky Togekiss and Platinum while having more weaknesses can still be a problem to deal with. Then we get into the strongest Pokemon of her team, the pseudo-legendary Pokemon of Sinnoh, Garchomp. Her Garchomp is a nightmare to deal with, and its stats show with a 130 base attack stat, 102 base speed, in addition to its 108 base HP and 95 defense and 85 special defense stats, it can tank quite a few hits as well. Even if you decide to bring in one of the legendary dragons onto your team, You better hope you have enough speed EV since they only have base 90 on their speed stat, which is 18 lower than Garchomp. And if you want to bring in an ice type to take it on, well, good luck considering there are only 2 ice type evolution lines in Diamond and Pearl. And if you play Platinum, while there are more options, her Garchomp has multiple coverage options to take on ice type Pokemon, and it'll be able to land a super effective hit onto whatever one you send out. Oh, and speaking of coverage, let's just take a quick look at her team's moveset. Her coverage on her team is insane. She definitely deserves the title of champion, and this is why I consider Cynthia to be the hardest champion in the series. However, there is one more trainer battle in Sinnoh that I personally find harder to beat Cynthia's, which is why Cynthia is only on the number 5 spot on this list. The one battle in Pokemon Platinum that I find to be harder than Cynthia's battle is Fantina from Pokemon Platinum. I'm just going to say this right now. Her Mismagius is way too strong at this point in the game for a 3rd gym leader. Her Shadow Ball coming out of a base 105 special attack stat can and will one-shot most of your Pokemon. Did I mention it can brush off all special attacks as well with its base 105 special defense and outspeed any Pokemon you send in with the base 105 speed stat? Not to mention it also has Side Beam and Magical Leaf for coverage, and control you by using Confuse Ray. She also has a Adult Skull which can Will-O-Wisp your physical attackers, and a Haunter which will annoy you with Hypnosis and Confuse Ray, and attack you with Shadow Claw and Sucker Punch. Her team is extremely annoying to deal with, and unlike Cynthia, you don't have a lot of counters to take on Fantina's team. For Fantina, there are only 3 Pokemon that can counter her team, and that's by catching a Ghastly for your own Haunter, Drifloon, and Rotom. However, those 3 won't outspeed her Mismagius, and there's only one other Dark type option available at this point in the game, and if it's you pick up the free Eevee in her home city and train up its friendship to evolve into Umbreon. Now Umbreon can take all of Mismagius' hits and deliver a super effective Dark type hit, but there's one problem. Eevee doesn't learn Bite until level 29 and Umbreon doesn't learn any Dark type moves until level 36. So unless you grind and evolve at that specific level, Fantina is going to be a huge pain in the ass to deal with. Although I don't remember how I won because I have the memory of a squirrel, but on my most recent times playing Platinum, I created a plan to take down Mismagius, and it was to use a special attacker against her Duskull, and then spam double teams on my Staravia while her Haunter uses all of its Sucker Punches, and then be all set for Mismagius to come out where it can only use Magical Leaf. And even though it's not very effective, it still did a surprising amount of damage compared to my own damage output. This was the only way I remember defeating Fantina. The fact I personally had to come up with a strategy like this in order to defeat her Mismagius is why I decided to put Fantina so high on this list as one of the toughest gym leaders in this series at the number 4 spot. Now, we get to what is, from my personal experience, the strongest gym leader in the series. And that's Norman from the Hoenn games. Norman is one of my personal favorite gym leaders in the series just because he is the protagonist's father in the series. And he will put you through one of the biggest tests in the entire series. Mainly because of his slackings. Everyone knows that his team hits like a truck with the huge 160 base attack stat. And Slacky is the only non-legendary and non-pseudo-legendary Pokemon to have a base stat total over 600. Its base stat total is 670. It's fast, and it's by far the bulkiest Pokemon you'll face as of this point in the games. And if you think one of them is hard enough to beat as is already, well, he has 2 of them. Unless you're playing Emerald and only has 1, he's still pretty tough in that game as well. They will flatten your team members with their normal moves and they'll form a facade if you give them a status condition, or a double-powered Retaliate if you just knocked out one of Norman's Pokemon, or even Chip Away which ignores stat changes. And they can get even more annoying with moves such as Counter, Yawn, Swagger, and Encore. It also has Feint Attack for coverage, Slack Off for healing, which honestly he never uses, and Focus Punch, which is honestly just a free chance to attack. And speaking of free chances to attack, the only thing preventing Slacky from being the most completely busted Pokemon ever is the Truant ability, meaning that it can only attack every other turn. So if you have a Pokemon with Protect or Dig, you can cheese this battle out, but with their bulk, it'll still take a while to take out the Slackings. And the bigger routes he carries with him don't have Truant and can also be annoying to deal with. And in Emerald he has a Spinda with Teeter Dance, which is by far the least of your worries. And a Linoone with Belly Drum, which can get ugly real quickly if you don't deal with it fast enough. But none of these Pokemon compare to its Slackings. Their bulk, speed, and attack stats prove to be one of the most annoying Pokemon to take down in the entire series. Which is why I believe Norman is the strongest gym leader in the series. Also knows lasers! Well, we've gotten this far into this list and haven't talked about any Elite Four members. And it's going to stay that way. But when you beat the Elite Four in Black and White, you don't face the champion. Instead, you fight the king of Team Plasma, N, in one of the most epic battles in the series with Legendary Dragon versus Legendary Dragon. But N isn't on this list either. But once you beat him, you face the true leader of Team Plasma, Getsis. As soon as the dark and ominous theme plays, you know you're in for a very tough battle. He first starts off with the Cofagrigus, which will start you out with Toxic and Protect, and then use Shadow Ball and Psychic whenever he feels like it. Then he has a Seismitoad, a Pokemon with only one weakness, and also a Swift Swim and Rain Dance as well. Next is Bufalon, and with its Reckless ability, it'll make its Head Charge and Wild Charge do 20% more damage than usual on already pretty high base power moves. Next is Bisharp with Defiance, so if you try to lower its stats, its attack stat will go up by 2 stages, and it's bulky enough to survive a hit and then unleash a Metal Burst, which could be really scary. Next up is its Electros, another Pokemon with no weaknesses with its Levitate ability, unless you happen to have a Mold Breaker Pokemon with Earthquake. And it can hit pretty hard with a large variety of coverage moves and tank hits as well. Finally, the one Pokemon that gives people the most trouble is Hydreigon. Or Hydreigon, or however the hell you pronounce this thing's name. Let me actually look this up real quick. Let's see, Pokemon Hydreigon pronunciation. Hydreigon. Oh. Okay. It will hit hard with its base 125 base special attack stat and has a decent amount of speed and average bulk, being the pseudo legendary of the Unova region. And I haven't gotten into its moveset yet because its coverage is absolutely insane. It gets a stat boosted Dragon Pulse, and for coverage it has Surf, Fire Blast, and Focus Blast. This is what everyone fears most about Hydreigon, its coverage. Even if you bring in your Emboar into this battle, then it will just get surfed. When I played through White the first time, even with my Zekrom on my team, I still lost multiple times to his Getsis before finally being able to beat him. If you think his Hydreigon's coverage is already bad enough, well, his coverage is equally insane on all of his Pokemon. I would even go as far as to say that it's even more ludicrous than Cynthia's coverage. Getsis really asserts his dominance and power in this battle, definitely worthy of being the hardest evil team leader in this series and getting the number 2 spot on this list. Well then, there is only one spot left on this list, and this battle is said to be the biggest Nuzlocke killer in all of Pokemon. Remember how broken I said Slaking was earlier? Well, remove its Truant ability and replace it with an ability where all super effective moves dealt to you do even more damage. Give it some of the most rainbow coverage in the series to take advantage of that ability. Increase the base stat total to 754, which is 34 points higher than Arceus. Increase both base attack and special attack stats to 167 and base speed up to 129. And on top of all of that, give it an aura where it increases every single stat by 1 stage. And what do you get? Ultra Necrosma. This battle is actually stupidly broken. You encounter this beast of a Pokemon at level 60. Or should I say, Ultra Beast? Boo! Okay, I'm sorry, please don't click off the video. And by this point in the game, your team is at around the low to mid 50s. So you are not going to be anywhere near this thing's level. And the moveset it has is Dragon Pulse, Power Gem, Smart Strike, and its signature move Photon Geyser, which does physical damage or special damage depending on which of your defense stats are lowest. So you're using a Blissey? Well, now Photon Geyser is physical. Using an Alolan Golem? Now it's special. And this Pokemon doesn't need a super effective attack to even one-hit KO your Pokemon in most cases because it's that strong. Just know that if it does get a super effective hit off, you are not surviving unless you have Sturdy. Speaking of Sturdy, one strategy I've seen most people use is teaching a Sturdy Pokemon Toxic and then stalling out the battle. But to me that's boring. I wanted to take it down and I already knew how broken this Pokemon was before I even got to it on my first playthrough of Ultra Sun. I did my research and built a team of mostly steel types to resist all of the hits. And wanna know how well that went? I still lost, multiple times. The only way I beat Ultra Necrosma was switching between my Premium and Bisharp until I PP stalls full-time Geysers and Dragon Pulses. Not my most proud victory ever, but the fact you have to tackle this Pokemon with an actual plan and even assemble a team just to take this Pokemon down, just to advance further in the main story, is why I feel this is the hardest Pokemon battle in the series. Pokemon battles. There are easy ones and there are hard ones, and that's what I've been proving throughout this entire video. Do you have any other battles that did not make it on this list? Then let me know in the comment section below. I had about 10 other battles I thought of as well, but I didn't want to make a top 20 to make this video super long. Maybe in the future I'll talk about the other 10 hard battles I didn't get to talk about in this video, who knows. And I probably should have said this earlier, but this video was made during the Sword and Shield Crown Tundra DLC period. So if you're wondering why any future game battles aren't on this list, then that's why. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure you drop a like. I would really appreciate it since this video took a very long time to make. Also, if you want to see the full battles that were showed off in this video, I will leave their channel names and video links in the description below. Please feel free to check them out. I think that's all I have to say. Again, my name is ABGamerX, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!